That was it. They ended it short very quickly. So that was the theme music that's used. Our theme music used on SM Beauty. SM is a large mall here in the Philippines, and they had this advertisement came across my one of the YouTubes as I was playing, trying to catch up on news today, and said, "Oh wow, using our theme music."
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So, of course, it was much shorter. We got 3 minutes of it, and they only used 37 seconds. So, all right. So let me switch this back around. Oh, I did not show it to everybody. Oh, darn it. Oh, let me bring that back up. We'll play it one more time, so people.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah. Now they can see it. That was it.
All right. And we're back.
And we're back. And we're back. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting way to kind of start today. How's it going, Tank? Here on the front lines?
Everything is wonderful as it possibly can be.
But you're in a dungeon.
This is my the hard law wall.
Oh, that's what it is.
The long arm of the law. Local America.
Okay, all right. So I was. So everything is okay. Never mind the torture devices in the background.
Yeah, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah. So
well, I just don't know. I got a bunch of little bits and pieces yesterday that I don't know if they're true. Which I don't normally put out, but I thought I kind of cleared them, and then I could be wrong. I thought that the AG Barr had actually put out some information about Barack Obama, to the Department of Justice, but apparently that might have just been satire. And who knows? I was hopeful there, but I'm expecting all these changes. So I guess I'm very I'm jumpy looking for these changes to take place. We have heard for so long it's all about to go down. It's all about to go down. It's all happening. And we're finally at a point where you can actually realistically expect that to take place, where you're seeing things that do reflect that, right? It looks like President Trump has put some things in place with executive orders, as he often does when big changes are happening.
Yeah.
And, so I'm expecting that to, all fly together. There's some reference to the cybersecurity taking place, which I think goes back. There's also reference to major investments that President Trump has made in the trillions of dollars into cyber security and to developing a quantum system, which obviously there's already a quantum system. So that says to me that he'd be working with the only person who's running a quantum system on the planet. So I'm very, very actively paying attention to that. I have no reports from Kim, which means usually what that means is that she's deep in operations doing various things, which I'm never sure exactly what that means, other than, usually means programming. I don't know if she's still programming. I would imagine that she is, not imagine, I know she's responsible for every country in the world, as well as every person on the planet. So you can imagine her responsibilities are extensive. So I'm not sure what that entails, to be quite honest.
Yeah, well, I see. Yeah, there are small little signs going around. That things are happening. It's kind of like there's the calm before the storm, or we're in the eye of the storm. It's like the major winds have blown by. Now we're in the eye. It's kind of a little bit quiet. You kind of hear some rumblings going on. A little thing over here, a little thing over there, and then we're gonna see the it hit on the offensive side, right? Because we've gone through where they were attacking Trump and trying to stop everything that was coming down the line, and now that is over, and now we're going to see everything go fast forward as we come through the eye of the storm. So I think that's what we're experiencing. I saw like Devin Nunes talking about things such as like Oliver Stone, right, and whatever was happening there, how bogus all of those charges were for lying to the FBI, which was like non-lies. They were like misstatements or something like that.
Roger Stone, right?
Yeah, Roger Stone. Did I say Oliver Stone?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Oliver Stone used to be my neighbor.
Really?
Yeah, he lived about half a block from me.
Okay.
A couple times got his mail by mistake. I do not know why. But anyway.
Yeah, they did. So they did call out Roger Stone that it was excessive punishment, right? It was like 9 years that they estimated, right? 9 years they were going to put in prison for miscellaneous lies. Meanwhile, all these other idiots have been lying belligerently.
Yes.
And they captured it. It's outright. It's obvious, and no consequences whatsoever have been charged.
And by the way, they send the SWAT team the same that as he was a a drug kingpin, right? Covered with they had helicopters and all these other things and break in five. Of course, he would if they would have said, hey, we want to arrest you, bring you in, he would have just went down to the station, right? He's already.
If they're going to call me, I would just come down. No big deal, right?
Yeah.
So okay, so we have that happening, right? And so now, I mean, if that is the standard, and actually, I thought X-22 made some great points. This has been drawn out to prepare the collective consciousness of the people,
yes,
so that it's very common. Now, this just happened at St. Lawrence University here in New York, which is 45 minutes from where I live. And St. Lawrence University, it was an all-girls school at one point. I don't know if it still is, but so they had this guy who's there. He's like plays some kind of part there. He moves in to like some online campus community with his daughter and son, and somehow he starts to use his influence, therapeutic mind control, basically, to get closer to these students, and he forms this like sex cult and uses violence and mind games to control them, right? To set up this whole kind of Nexium-esque type of a function, right? And so you have things like that going on, and they keep bringing these things out so that people realize this is common. This is happening everywhere. This is not like a one-time thing. This is what the norm is. And we all need, because think about it, as parents, we're all pushing our kids to go to college. Can you imagine? Your daughter is being held hostage when she goes to college. It's terrifying.
Oh yeah, I couldn't even suggest. I didn't even want my kids going to regular school in California, right? I actually sent my son to India, to a French Canadian school in Bangalore, India.
It makes perfect sense.
So because it was, there was just. I was tired of fighting, the school. It's like when they didn't want to grade him, or when they talk about all the programs for, moving, because everyone would, that had any sort of money, would take their kids out when after like junior high, right? Instead of going to high school, they moved them all to a private school. And I went to the orientation, for the parents, right? And the principal was up there and saying, you don't have to move your kids out. We have a great school here. And she spoke for like 45 minutes without talking about academics. She talks about the social environment, the the sports team. She spoke about everything, and then she asked for questions and questions at the end. And I'll say, you spoke for 45 minutes. That's what I said. You didn't mention at all the academics, and you say this is why we should send our kids to you, and that was it. I didn't send my son. It's like I said, this is stupid. So he got a great education, but I also didn't get to see him much, being on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, I can't do it. For me personally, I would rather homeschool my kids and school them with real life, I guess. My goal before, we kind of got dragged through this when we were in the RV, is I wanted to establish an academy that was, designed around the students themselves, right? So you had like 8 kids that would be together all the time. You have one, advisor. Then they would go to different classes together, and then they would have, group discussions, and they'd go out and experience things, and they'd go out and contribute to the community, and find ways, more advanced ways to educate through experience in real life, versus, just sitting in a classroom and, memorizing things and kind of being programmed at a very base level. I mean, we know, they're not even teaching the Constitution anymore. This is a design since the 80s, when the whole Board of Education was introduced, to dumb us down because we were performing too well, right? Like, people were too smart. So there's been a conscious effort to dumb people down, Americans especially, for the past 40 years.
Yeah, so, and I moved from Pennsylvania, right, at 16 years old, to California. And so from high school in Pennsylvania to high school in California. And they were already dumbed down. It was already at least 2 years behind. Even the same books and everything that I had 2 years prior. And it's just, it was so obvious that was going on. When I actually, even though I had started at UCLA, because at 16, I was, I saw what was going on there. I liked UCLA, but I started looking at other schools to learn. I wanted to learn about electronics and programming and things of that nature. So I kind of moved, I transitioned from medicine, because I was kind of in the medicine, working in medicine at that time. And then I transitioned into electronics. But when I looked around at the colleges, UCLA wasn't the best for that, but I looked at a couple of the others. I said, the best thing is to get this done quickly was to go to DeVry and learn and basically get a bachelor's in electronic engineering, and then after that go for a master's, and for that in electrical engineering in Cal State Long Beach. But I got a great education in DeVry, and it was a business that put out certain qualities of product. They had the A quality product, the B quality product, the C quality product, and the D quality product. And I was an A quality product. But when I went from there to Cal State Long Beach, and I ran into free speech zones, it's meaning that I'm walking through campus and you can only say what you want in these little boxed areas that they had off. I said, that's ridiculous, right?
Right.
What's going on? So it was always about indoctrination, I think, and really just it wasn't about teaching, So anyway, I had an interesting time there, but the reality is that there's some agenda behind the universities, right? And it's not a good one. So I think that they've committed fraud on the whole population, and all the money that was paid to them as tuition should be reimbursed to everybody.
I will tell you that I know this for a fact. There's 2 things that Kim was asked by the government to help with, and that is one, to restructure the tax situation. So in other words, to do away with the IRS and go back to the I can't remember what it's called. It's like the tax association, like whatever it was previously. That's one thing she was asked to help with. And the other thing is three things actually, to help with the actual college loan system, right? Which basically requires you to pay back a college debt indefinitely, right? Because you will never just design that way. And then the other thing that she just recently was asked to do is to, she put a proposal out to help resolve the currency debacle, is what she said. Now, to be clear, this does not mean that people are going to get, redeemed on this currency the way they might think, but there is potentially some type of compensation that could be provided, and I have no idea what that looks like at all. However, what I am very clear about, there will absolutely not be a currency revaluation. That will never happen, but there might be some kind of compensation for the hardship and loss and the lies that have been told to everyone. So, and Kim's very, Kim is like wicked smart.
It's good to clean up, this mess also. I've put in so much effort, so much time, trying to create, a better world, right? This is the path. What else do we do other than try and handle the big mess of the financial system? And sure, I'd love to be compensated. But I get it. No, redeeming my 100 trillion Zimbabwe notes that I have, or these bonds, right? We got mountains filled with people in the Philippines, well, also in China, where the whole economy, the only thing that they have to live on is what they were sitting on in the mountains. Now, some of it is gold, some of it is these bonds that were put there. And so many different types of these marvelous, beautiful boxes, with it's kind of just miraculous in itself. They should become museums, really. Because Liberty boxes or plum blossom boxes, and the paper and the golden guns. I've held 2 different golden guns, right? Which they're not actually guns. I mean, they just shaped like a gun. They're non-functional, right? And they're like little cutouts. But there's bullets in them, and they have these little stamps that you have to stamp the paper that you were going to redeem, and say all this kind of stuff. So. Very elaborate, but the whole idea of what they were doing was to take asset and give them pretty paper.
Right. And all those assets have now since been removed. Actually, I'm sure there's remnants, but the bunkers and vaults, the famous things that like Neil Keenan thinks he has access to, is the Amana or whatever it is.
Amana.
To me, it just speaks to, manna, right? It's kind of a universal term in every culture that means spirit or love or energy. Right? So he's the Amana, right? So
the Omana.
But I remember we got that great report from those guys saying how the vaults in Indonesia were guarded by these jinn, and there's a dragon. That stuff's amazing. I would love to see that and see what is really there now. I would love that there is a real, existence that I think we have to raise the frequency to experience, where you have all of these kind of mystical beasts that we, heard about through fairy tales and stuff. But I do think there's some version of them that has existed. There's a very the museum in England, which is actually this incredible museum, which it fascinates me, with this guy whose last name is Merlin, right? And he was a cryptic zoologist, right? Taxidermist, right? And so when they opened up this wall after this sitting there, he had like donated this building, and all these incredible things are inside. I mean, I am so fascinated. My next vacation, if I ever get to take one, is going to be to go see this place, because they actually have a whole scientific center there. They've examined all the items. Everything's real. Everything's completely organic. They've taken the blood cells of, like, it says vampire blood cells, and they've like added something, like like a drop of something to it, and it completely rejuvenates. Right? It actually is like you would imagine a vampire's blood to be. I mean, that kind of stuff. And like you can see, there's skeletons of fairies and little trolls and werewolves. It's like, obviously this stuff existed, right? It was here,
Well,
Why?
I just think that it existed around the world, in every culture, even though they were so segregated. Right, aspects of it would appear maybe not identical, but very close. So, even vampires or werewolves or shapeshifters. This was around the world. Is it how? So is it how much truth can be there? Right, is really for us to discover. But we have a system that tries to obscure these things. This is outside of what we want you trained to know. Right, so you're not allowed to know about these things other than, hey, it's a story, it's a fiction. And it's their way of handling all that by just calling it fiction, not real, just fairy tales.
Right.
And that's how they handle it. But when you have giant skeletons all over the planet, right, and that you can actually visit and see them, and as I said, I have a very good friend of mine actually discovered one.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Of course you have a friend who did that, by the way, of course. But
yeah. And he's a Mormon, and so he turned it over to the Mormon Church, and they have a lot of those. The University of Utah, I think this was the one.
Now, was it discovered in the U.S.?
In the U.S., yeah, in Utah actually. I believe it might have been Arizona. I might be wrong, but I think it was Utah, and he was actually hunting for gold, right? And the skeleton had gold with it. Right, it had a bag of gold that were kind of like shaped like the palm of your hand. These kind of like chunks of gold that were previously melted, but they weren't in a coin form. He described them kind of like more like a wad of gold, and it was kind of like formed in some way. Like you were like you poured it into the like you had. You poured it on the ground, right? The molten gold,
Let it out,
right? And wherever it sat, you can now pick it up and carry it, kind of something like that. So they would, but it had orange hair, and when he discovered it, he basically turned it over to them. But a lot of things like that.
Wait, it had orange hair still?
Still, yeah. Yeah.
Why do you say that like it's normal? yeah, of course. Like he's still. That's amazing.
Even mummies still have their hair, right?
Oh, okay.
Right. If the hair is just a dead.
Yeah, I guess now I think about it, that makes sense.
Yeah, and but this is very common. The orange-haired giants, right? And
right. And I know that they discovered things like that in Scotland.
Yeah, but all around the world, yeah, especially in Americas, it was a very there was a lot of giants that lived there. I mean, it was the predominant, way where they were living, I think. But anyway, it's everywhere around the world. But if these skeletons are discovered, if the Catholic Church comes upon them, they destroy them, right? If it turns over to the Smithsonian, it disappears. Do they also destroy them? I don't know.
I mean, I've heard the Smithsonian. I know that they've been sitting on a lot of this stuff for a long time. I don't know. I don't know how any historian could possibly really destroy that kind of a find. I mean, it's so incredible. I mean, but now, from what I've heard, there's thousands of them that have been, buried.
Oh yeah.
After they've been dug up, they've been buried kind of away from everybody, kind of like the, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Everything's in boxes. It's amazing, right? Just kept aware of.
We have the giants that are like Noah, which there's he's like the 8-foot variety.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the Iroquois giant. I know there's a burial ground that was discovered in Connecticut that was Iroquois Indian, and it was, they were all 7 to 8 feet tall around that range, and it was just, and that actually makes sense for just this, not really so much giants as much as larger humans, because the planet was healthier. And that's something that they try to keep from us all the time,
Well, I think that that's, the one thing that where I can cut the flat earthers a little bit of slack, right? And not that we're on a flat earth, but it is possible that because we were part of a bigger planet, we might not be so spherical, right? Because we were, Tiamat was the bigger planet, and it got demolished when Nibiru came through at one of the times, and its moon smashed into Tiamat, and like the leftover became the Earth, right? And the rest of it is the asteroid belt.
Right.
So there was a previous theory to that too, where it was actually had to do with Venus. Venus actually came in as a rogue planet and smashed into Tiamat, and that may also be, the truth as well, and that's why it's so, not a very nice place still. It still hasn't calmed down. And
all this stuff. I'm always just so amazed by all this. Like, I really want there to be some way, that is provided, right? So, like, the Galactic Universal Council, like, I've accepted the existence of these things, right? I've seen enough evidence to believe and to know that nothing that we knew previously is right. But I still don't know what's right. I still don't. I can't say definitively, what is absolutely correct. There's some things that I've, learned about, like Atlantis, that I think are right, and kind of the migration to the Americas, right? But I also can't fully explain. I don't know if it's the Anunnaki or what it is that you have these out in New Mexico. You have these Aramaic version of the Ten Commandments, right? The 613 ordinances written in stone there that no one ever talks about, right? That are older than the text, than any other record we have, older than the Dead Sea Scroll. So how does that exist?
right.
And you have to. There's an interconnectivity here, and also I know. One time I was on a conversation with Kim, and she was talking to somebody who clearly knew more than I knew about almost anything, right? The two of them together. So I'm basically like, they're on the call, they're talking about stuff way over my head, right? And I'm just in the background, right? And they're talking kind of in code at times, and like Kim would reference something, and he knew exactly what it was. It was like kind of like portal related, right? And basically, I remember at one point, Kim says, well, let's just say that travel isn't limited. What does that mean? I mean, I know what that means, but please explain more. Like, I'm dying to know, right? Like, why can't I know that at this point? Which, I'm sure there's a reason, but that drives me crazy, because I'm constantly looking to better understand these things. Like, how is it that this all works and functions, right? Like, why are we limited right now, even, looking for financial change, right? The money just represents energy, right? And it makes me wonder, like, how do we move the energy without money? How do we access this in a way?
Well,
I mean, it's latent within us, right?
Yeah. There's the physically how, and then there's the steps that you need to take to get there, right? The system that we have in place, we have to remember that it was designed and presented to the world as a system of abundance. Yes, they basically put in their sneaky way of cutting out so many people who used to have power and wealth, the royalty from around the planet that wasn't on the inn, right? And but the system itself was designed for this. So it recognizes the energy of the people, right, as being infinite, and but they want to harvest it. They want to treat it as a battery, and they are the ones that are the benefit from it. Well, it's presented as that we're the ones that will benefit from it. But So all we really have to do is take the existing system and allow it to run, but instead of in the direction it is, reverse it so that it actually reverses and goes to the people instead. So that's why I think it's when I talk about reversing the flow, like with TUI and Fiji and doing it, I think it really is something that can function side by side with the existing system until the one that is for abundance is bigger than the one for debt slavery, and the other one just kind of fades out. It just kind of stops functioning. So I think so without disturbing the world as it is, right? If you just pull everything, it's more traumatic. It's not like ripping off a Band-Aid. All right, it's like pulling out all the stitches and removing all the new heart transplant you just had. the body's going to die, right? It's not something you can just stop. You have to basically have a replacement built alongside. So you just reverse the flow while the existing one is still going. So you recognize both systems, and you just let this one get bigger and bigger and bigger while this one gets smaller and smaller till it's not even in play anymore. It just disappears.
No, I do think that is a very effective tactic to, or a planning mechanism, right, to transition from one age to the next. Yeah. To build things, a de jure government alongside of a de facto government, right? Where, the de facto government is basically has no real power, but you know what? They don't know that yet. And everyone pretty much is used to that. So you have to build up the people and actually put things in place in such a way that the people have authority, right? That you can't come in and change things. And, and I really think it ultimately comes down to we have to create communities that are living communities dedicated to understanding the truth about the world, the planet, ourselves. And I'm always, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier in my mind to build communities that are independent from, these, metropolis areas that are so filled with, indoctrinated with ignorance and so limited by what they can do because of what they've been taught, right? So I'm always looking like, well, even that though, still takes money at this point, right? Which I have no doubt that there's an existence that we can have where we're just drawing on abundance, just like you said, based on our own self-value, right? And I do think that part of the revaluation is us actually recognizing our own personal value, right? And somehow that translates, and we recognize that value and we put it to use. I just don't know what it looks like. How we actually get there.
I know what it looks like. I see it in my head.
Me too.
I can see it.
But the bridge is what I'm looking for.
No, I know. I see the bridge. I know how to build it. That's my it's like my focus on for 20 years at least. Seeing how to reverse this from at least 1998 actually, I'd say. So pretty close. We're had some idea that this needed to be built, right? And how to make that occur. So, but this is it's not as big of a problem. It's just you have to make the first step towards doing it. Right? And it's not, and it doesn't even have to be traumatic. It can just be said, oh yeah, let's do that. And it goes, and you go along with it. I know it's kind of odd now, like when I used to say with Tui, his relatives would come into the store, right? And they would just take the food and leave, and you say, yeah, good, I see, yeah. So it's, in traditional, business, that's not really good. Your profits just walked out the door, so now you can't actually buy more. Whole system falls apart. But if you actually, the system was set up to pay those people to come into your store, right, and take things.
I still don't agree with it. I still think it makes everything about money. But
I know. Listen, I'm not saying you don't pay as well. but you get paid also to come in. That's what I say. You keep both in place. You're going to pay for your bread, right? You know, here's the money, and at the same time, you're going to get paid because you paid for it. It's a different form. It would be just a different form of money. One is the debt-based notes, and the other is abundance-based currency. And you keep generating abundance-based currency for everything that you do. Eventually, that currency is more in use than the debt-based stuff.
Right. Well, it's all very fascinating. You know,
I know it's it's deep. You know, maybe one day I can.
But I see that you're looking at something, and I do. You know, I can go to a certain level. I just don't know what the. You know, what
when I come at it from the point of view of this very broad, overreaching whole economic system of the world, it's kind of hard to comprehend. But on the basis of it, you know, if you got points for going into a store, that happens already. Slide your loyalty card. Hey, I got some points. It's not much more complicated than that. To actually mean that those points actually are recognizing that you've done something, right? And then now, how do you value those points, right? And you can also eliminate the whole tax system by way of these points, because that's what you turn over to the government is these points, so that gives them authority to create more currency on the other end.
I get it. I understand it, but I just, you know, at the end of the day, there still has to be some kind of breakthrough on what's currently here, you know, and that's still what I'm looking at. Is at the end of the day, I look at.
Well, it's good. Yeah. Did you get a deposit today?
No, I did not.
No. Okay, just checking. That would be the.
That would be. I know.
That'd be the one.
Yeah, which is my frustration. I'm like, you know, maybe, some days I'm like, maybe I should be doing what Dan is doing, is creating a whole different currency system, right? And just figuring out how to monetize me, right? Like, based on how do I monetize that energy, right?
Yeah, well, it's here now, so
yeah.
you're welcome to jump in and look at how we can apply it towards, you know, solving the problems, you know. So the structure is there, and we're building it up, you know, one block.
Yeah.
There's 4 pieces. We're engaging 2 pieces now, and then once they get rolling, then the other 2 get into play, and then we got a whole ecosystem, you know, underway. So actually, I have
velocity of money pushing.
Yeah,
got it.
You got a lot of velocity.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. I listen. I study what you say. I listen carefully.
Well,
so,
I did a meeting last night. I posted it up. It's on there from last night. So if anyone wants to go and check out the meeting, we're just talking about like the next steps to make is to do a decentralized exchange. It's kind of like a barter system. You know, New York Stock Exchange. You look at that. That's what we call a centralized exchange, where you have people in the middle that are trying to make the deals for everybody. Decentralized exchange is where the individuals coming into a marketplace and say, "Hey, I've got this to sell." Right? Who else? Who wants to trade me with what you have? Oh, you've got this. Okay, I'll trade that with you. And it's all created into an automated system just to find the people and put them together. That's a decentralized exchange. So we're building one of those, and since our price is attached to gold, the gold price has to follow whatever the current gold price is. Now you have that as what we call a stable coin, and then you can trade it against one of the other coins that's going like this, and then you try and to be like a day trader, and you whenever you want to safeguard your whatever gains you've made, you move it into the coin, the grains coin. So that's the stable coin, the safe place to put it. So anyway, that's what we talked about last night, is that piece, as well as we have a verification system that should come online maybe this coming weekend. We'll be testing it, where, well, if you're doing things. So if I want to go ahead and place like that video I did last night and I posted it on my Facebook, I'll get points for that. But someone has to verify it. So we actually have two people that verify. So you post your link, say I want points for that, and then two people now have to come and verify. They get points for verifying you. And then it helps gain that. Now the points come in later after the next two pieces come into play: the abundance programs and the carrot coin. So anyway, step by step.
I get it. Hey, look, I appreciate what you're thinking. I know it's gonna yield great benefit to humanity somehow. That's your intention. I know it. So let's get that thing rolling. In the meantime, we've got a very corrupt, a lot of garbage going on here. I'm still looking to verify this bill that's allegedly in Congress to, force vaccinate the entire U.S. population. And we got, there was a big win, though, actually, that most people have totally overlooked here in New York with vaccines. And I guess it happened in the middle or end of December. And this really proves my point that Del Bigtree and RFK are on the wrong path, at the very least, pursuing appeals and all this other nonsense, because there was an actual victory with the medical exemptions in New York. And the argument was actually based on New York State does not have the right to overlook the informed consent of the learned intermediary, which would be the doctor, and their opinion for the patient. And it's amazing because no one's even talking about this in New York, right? And somebody pointed it out to me, and this was, I guess it was a group of physicians in Colorado talking about it. Now in New York, that's the basis of what we're talking about, right? Because informed consent is really the victory, not the medical exemption. What the victory is that based on informed consent, they don't have the right to do anything like that. You don't have the right to take that decision away.
So let me try to understand what you were saying there. So the informed consent of the doctor, meaning the doctor actually has new information and doesn't agree with the program anymore for forced vaccinations. So
the doctor does the doctor is identified as the learned intermediary, right? Their job as the professional is to assess the patient's health and say this vaccine will not be good for this child because they're medically fragile or whatever reason, right?
So it sounds like a medical, it sounds like a financial boom for all of those doctors that basically agree, hey, this is not good. And because all those patients will flood to those doctors that are on that side of things.
Well, but here's what they did, right? So a majority, and I would say it's probably in the 85 to 90% range of doctors in New York, they built up to this, right? So they were taking them out of independent practice. So there's not many independent physicians anymore.
Yeah.
So what they have to do to get their paycheck is they have to go along with the corporate guidelines of the hospital group or the medical group that they're working for. And these groups are very obviously punishing doctors, punishing doctors and the medical groups themselves. Because if they vaccinate, and this is where it gets really corrupt, if they vaccinate 97% of the people that come in, right, they make sure they receive whatever vaccination, they get to that number, they get a huge bonus paid out from, I guess, HHS or something like that, right? So as soon as President Trump put this out, and I mean the same day that President Trump put it out there and said we are going to protect your religious and conscience freedoms when it comes to vaccine. Put this out there, put an executive order out there, both for the doctors and for the individuals. The same day, 21 states filed a lawsuit, I guess against President Trump, for doing that, saying, hey, we can't do business. Now that's the kind of thing that is really corrupt. Is that I don't care if you can't do business. This has to do with our fundamental rights.
Yeah.
Your business should not overrule my fundamental rights. Your business model is based on criminal activity, right? Your business model is based on we're going to impose this on people, right? Fraudulently, unresearched vaccination and violate their fundamental rights. You're the problem. Your whole business model is the problem. And just because you can't do business, it's like, well, it's because you're criminals. So we shouldn't be in the business of keeping criminals operating business, at the expense of the health of the people. Period. And that's what's so disgusting about this. Is meanwhile, they're arguing to beg for the rights to practice their fundamental freedom, right? Their unalienable rights. It's amazing. Amazing. So it's a big win, though, right? And now she got this. It was this independent attorney, it was like the perfect storm. It was an independent doctor, an independent attorney, right? And the independent attorney approached ICANN and RFK, right, which is Del Bigtree's group. Mm-hmm. So she was trying to get them to see what she was doing and get their help. They wouldn't help her. But Ralph Fusatella, who works with Dr. Remo, who we've interviewed before on the Speak Project, and I spoke to him about it as well, he intervened and helped her. And she won. So if I take all of the publicity and all the noise and all the great things that Del Bigtree and RFK are doing, 0 wins, 0. Ralph Fusatella, hardly anybody even knows his name. But you know what? He just won in New York, so I would say correct course.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm glad because that's in line with what we're pursuing as well. So
yeah. Well, sometimes people's cups are too full to take in new information and deal with it. They're on their own path. Sometimes they wake up. Sometimes they don't. But that's really wonderful to have wins. I think what we're going to see now is more and more wins. I think the offense has begun. This is, as I said, this is the quiet in the eye of the storm, right? We've passed through, all of it swinging all the winds going to the left. Now we're going through the eye. When you come out, it's all going to the right. So now we're going to see it all going through. When I'm pointing that way, am I pointing left or am I pointing right?
I really think it requires more aggressive action. Personally, you're not looking at we're just going to keep playing this game. As far as I'm concerned, it's get off your ass and do something now. Number one thing is get this money into the people so that we can start funding projects, and whatever has to happen for that to take place, get it done. Go arrest the right people, get these idiots off their ass and move them out of the way so that we can actually go to work. I mean, Congress has done nothing. I mean, the Democrats have done nothing except pursue impeachment for the past 3 years. It's embarrassing that it's not even a government. It's just a group of people trying to undo an election, right? You have that, but in the meanwhile, Trump is moving mountains everywhere. He's moving everything out of the way and just finding a way to get things done in an incredible fashion, despite nonstop, so much resistance. I've never seen anything like it, right? So,
well, the ones that are screaming the loudest have the most to lose, right? They've been so much into the system that they were quite content to let it dissolve because their evolution was into a worldwide system that they would be in control of, right? That the world would be in a new world order, that they would be in control of that order. They would be giving the orders. And that's why they're selling out the country. They're selling out all the people. They don't care. They only care about power.
You know what? This is what I love about natural law or common law. It's common to everyone, even the king, right? From the highest to the lowest, it's common. These are the laws of nature. These are the laws that everything is going to function by, no matter what the situation is or the circumstances are. Now, what they have become accustomed to is they operate above the law, right? They think we get to do whatever the hell we want. You guys are the ones who need to be governed, right? You need rules. We don't have rules. We do whatever we want, right? That's the whole mentality that they're fighting so hard to take on, right? Because if that's the case, it's like now if there's laws that they are also bound by, that means there's crimes and consequences, right? There's all types of things that we now have to look at and say, you're not above this, right? Now, this has been the claim to fame. No one is above the law. Meanwhile, they've been saying that above the law because we're watching you commit crime. We watch you perjure yourself. We watch you get up and lie to everyone and do nothing about it. James Comey has been so belligerent and arrogant. Everything he does is wrong. I mean, he's committed so many crimes right in front of us, and then he's still like, well, once again, there's no interpretation on these things. When you're sworn under oath and you lie, that's cut and dry. These things are proven factually. So much evidence has been presented. The real question is, why are we even talking about President Trump being acquitted? He wasn't even accused of a crime.
Right.
Just like you can't convict me because I didn't greet your mother properly when I walked in your house, or because I got mud on your floor. These are not crimes, right? You might not like me because of it, but you can't convict me over it, right?
I think they're going to pursue this with the court system to say that this impeachment was not following the Constitution, and it should be expunged because it wasn't real. No part of it was followed. The Constitution. There were no crimes. There were no high crimes. There were no misdemeanors. There were no infractions.
Well, but the thing is it's an attempt to overthrow the government.
Right.
This is treason. I want it to be treated as treason.
Yes.
I don't want it to be treated as like, we got to be careful about the public. You don't want to upset anybody. Absolutely not. If you can't see this as treason, you're broken.
The only public it's going to upset are those in the mainstream media, those in their group. When they say it's going to destroy our democracy, they mean their democracy. That small group of people, right? So when they're always speaking from truth, it's their truth about their democracy, where it doesn't include 99% of the people in the world. It's their system that they're trying to protect. And when they're talking about protecting their system, not the democracy, not the republic. They're not talking about you and me. They're talking about themselves and their power structure, their cabal.
There's something about this that really disturbs me too, is that we are a republic. Why that's so important, obviously, is because we're a republic, we have rights that are unalienable. They are birthrights, God-given. We were created with them. From the moment of our first breath of life, we have these rights on this planet.
So unalienable or inalienable?
No, unalienable. The organic Constitution. You cannot separate me from these rights. Now, with a democracy, if I can control the message, if I can control what you hear, what you believe is real, then I can control which way you vote, right? I can control what the masses believe is true. So that's not a fair system no matter how you cut it. Because if now it's just 5 or 6 of us, right, who control every single media outlet, then I can control everything that happens, right? I can make you love me or hate me, or it doesn't matter. We can control everything. So it's not a fair democratic process, right? It's now completely manipulated and perverted. So, but with that would almost still be okay, as long as we all recognize you cannot mess with my unalienable rights. Now, they've gone so far that they're basically saying no. They control us from the cradle to the grave. We don't even have, as far as they're concerned, we don't have the right to life. They'll take you whenever they see fit and have no consequence. Hillary Clinton, nobody has 58 friends who commit suicide. I'm sorry, you just don't. It's just not possible. Nobody has, these things are insane that we have allowed to take place, and no amount of public outcry is enough, right? It's not enough to just complain about it. There has to be actual lawful action taking place by our sitting representatives who are elected into these offices. They need to take action and say, damn it, this is ridiculous. How are we allowing this murderer to continue on this way? Half the Congress is pedophiles and, involved in some corruption. They all got rich, making $200,000 a year. How? It's not possible. They're doing that off of us. They're feeding off of us like parasites.
Yes.
That is the, Michelle Walker was talking about this today. She was talking about this movie from the 70s. And I'm not even sure what the context was of the movie, but she was saying how, like, there's a scene where the main character is going, I want you to be mad. They poison our air. They poison our food. They're like, you should be angry. I don't want you to write a letter to your congressman. I want you to open your windows and scream off, say, I am pissed off. And I'm sick and tired of this. I will not let it happen anymore. Right? Something like that. I'm butchering it, but the principle is still the same, right? And I realized there is something to be said if the option, right, if you look at, like, people are always getting on me about, like, Tank, keep it positive, love and light, brother, love and light. Like, listen, okay, first of all, my anger is much more positive than your indifference.
Yeah.
Right? It's better to be angry than it is to be indifferent and apathetic. Or better yet, it's better to be actively involved in the change than sitting around waiting for someone else to change things, especially when you're rooting for the wrong team, right? The change that a lot of people are waiting for is not the one they want to be involved in, right? Now imagine if we all just kept waiting, we'd suddenly find out, like, oh, hey, what do you know? I'm a slave. I mean, now I'm really a slave, right? Like, it's even worse than I thought. Right?
Yeah, by the way, I've got a collar with a chain on it. There's a problem here, right? Well, I think there is a purpose in anger, right? And it is to motivate you to do something, right? And it's not to get angry and upset that they haven't seen the error of their ways yet. They realize they're hurting people. Why would they do this? All from the the tender heart, like the tender-hearted woman in what Trump read.
The snake.
With the snake, yeah. So that over mothering. So that's why they get a lot of women into Congress, is to bring in this nurturing side, right? That it's all about this side, but ignoring that out of the moment of the emotional moment, that the next steps that happen and the path that it goes down results in catastrophe for everybody. Right. So
I was thinking about this when you were playing that video with Snake, right? So there's a passage in the Bible, and it talks about I escaped from the bear, and then I ran from the lion, and I got inside the house, and I shut the door, and I put my hand against the wall to rest, and I got bit by the snake. Right? So you get away from the bear, you get away from the lion, finally you're at home within yourself, and come to find out you got one more enemy, and it's not outside of you, it's inside of you. Right? That's the whole point. Right? And I think that if we keep our enemies as just bears and lions, we'll miss, what is it? The big real enemy is our own lack of willingness to expand, to believe in something bigger, to allow ourselves to be hopeful, to allow ourselves to get our hopes up. Right? It drives me crazy when people say, don't get people's hopes up. Why? What does ever good happen from having no hope? Has anything ever happened from having low hopes? Never. Nothing good ever happened. You should have high hopes every day, every second, all the time. I live perpetually in a state with high hopes. You know what? I think about this all the time. People that tell me they don't want to have high hopes, they spend 364 days a year expecting something miserable. One day a year, something miserable happens. You know what they do? That day, they're like, aha, see, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. For one day, they're not even happy, though. They're just right. They're right and miserable still. Right. But I live every single day filled with high hopes. Excited about every possibility, anything we can have. I expect things to go my way all the time. And most of the time they do. Right? My heart's still beating, my eyes still work, my lungs are still breathing. Most things go your way too. That's the reality. Most things do. But what we do is we think, man, I don't have this. We focus on the, 1% of our life that isn't exactly what we want, and we miss all the amazing things that are going our way. But it's so much better. We should right now, more than ever, be inspired. We should be fighting. We should see these egregious violations against us and see this monster that is trying to drown us with all this horrible sadness and fear. And we should stand up and say, no, I have no part of it. I have no part of it. You will not take me down that way. And if people could just tap into that strength they have, right? God, it drives me crazy to see people just downplay themselves all the time. They love to talk down about themselves, right? You give them a compliment, instead of just saying thank you, they're like, no. It's like, stop with the false humility and all the garbage. I don't care if people think I'm arrogant. Like you said, what? I'm confident. Confidence has been tested. Arrogance hasn't been. I'm confident in what we're doing. I'm confident we'll win. I'm confident in the people around me. I'm confident in the people I haven't even met yet who I know are going to contribute to make it better, right?
Yep.
Like, it's that kind of a movement right now, right?
Right.
So, that's my thoughts. I'm getting sucker moving, man. That's
we're moving. It's 1 year, and we've got so much difference, of what's occurred so far. Even with where the Kim system in place, is there, is it like this week or next week or today, where money goes into accounts? I don't know, but this is a pretty big change from last year, right? Fighting, for it's like we're there. Everything that the cabal did, the bankers did to stop Kim. Right. But now, she's stopping them. Right. And they're realizing it and they're dealing with it. Right. They're figuring out, well, how do we use this system?
Yeah.
Right. They're at the point of how do they use the Kim system?
And then, and at this point, look at all that's happened this past year. I mean, Jamie Dimon was looking at Kim to bail out Chase Bank. And all these different things. They all come to her knowing she's the final say. They never want to go. They never want to cooperate because, in her version, she has taken a stand for the people every single time. And I can't. You know what? I know I do not appreciate it because I still get, bummed out, upset, and really want this to move. And and I have to always check myself with it a little bit because I really don't understand or fully appreciate all the kid has to deal with. What I do know though is you've got a system that took thousands of years to implement, filled with traps, pitfalls, and a completely brainwashed population of people that have no idea this really exists. And she's standing up for all of us to really raise to that level, to rise up. And what Kim has always said to me, she goes, I'll come down from the top, you come up from the bottom. And I'm always thinking about that, because that is really what it takes, I think about this all the time. I remember Kim said to me once that, we were talking about different belief systems and everything they lie. And Kim said, but she said, a million Catholics praying for something to happen. Is it really negative? Is it really bad? Right? Because I was always kind of, the fraudulent religions always really bothered me, right? I spent my whole life, as a minister, trying to understand who I am and my relationship to God and have it be okay to be myself and have that be okay with God, right? But this is one thing I think about when it comes to prayer, right? Now, what prayer, the word is, intercession, an inner communication between you and God. Now, you have this example happening in your body all the time, right? You have something in your brain, right? So you have a red man in your brain. It's called the arterial circle of Willis. It's a conglomeration of arteries in your brain.
Okay.
So you have a red man in a cloud, right? So Adam, or Adon, right, first man, means red man. So that's symbolic of God sitting in a cloud in your brain, right? So you have this principle of God in your brain circulating through your body. So you're constantly in a state of prayer, right? You're constantly there. That's why meditation is often called mindfulness, right? you're mindful and conscious of who you are. So I realized if we could just be more mindful and more conscious that God is in us, right, and in each other, we would start to see God or source or the universe in other people. And when you expect to see it more, naturally, you're just laws of physics, you just attract those people all the time that are also seeing that same powerful spirit in them. And the more you bring that energy together and it communicates across boundaries and ages and races and all the ways they try to divide us, you realize there's really nothing we can't do, right? And my only frustration at times is that we don't have any greater impact, right? But I'm probably attracted more of that. So what I expect today is that just by the broadcast of our voice and the message we put out there, the energy and the true intention of what we're trying to do, that we'll be able to connect the entire world and change this in an instant. And I think we're right at that moment too. And I mean that. I'm fully convinced that we have come through all these ways. Because at the end of the day, you go from 2019 to 2020, that, it's boom, you're there. But you had to go through the whole year to get there.
Yeah.
I just think we've gone through the whole process. We're right there, and we're that close.
Yep, so. I think so too. I'm right there on it with just it's like everything is going to go so fast over the next 2 months. It's just the things that are lining up worldwide. I don't know, on the negative stuff that's coming out, whether, how much of the crown virus, I guess we're not allowed to say the first word now, and they actually will censor videos.
Really?
Yeah. I'm picking up on that from the other YouTubers, alternative media out there that are saying, doing some videos, and they're saying the unnamed virus, or but I can say the crown virus, right?
The crown virus.
Yeah. So I don't know how dramatic it really is. I don't know how deadly it really is. I don't know if Xi Jinping is gone. Right?
No, he showed up, man. He showed up.
He did? Okay, good. Are you sure?
No, not. But I mean, that's what I'm told today.
Okay. All right, that's good then. That's a good news. Unless it's a body double.
Yeah. I was getting all types of corrections this morning. So it was like, this is wrong. You said this is wrong. Correct this. I'm like, okay.
Okay, good. I'm just picking up on the rumors. I said, oh, really? That's interesting. But I'm glad that he's there. I think that might have been a fairly bad signal, if that was to happen, because I think that there is a dynamic in play here, which is locking in these leaders like Putin and Trump and Xi and the Queen or Boris or Abe and the new Emperor of Japan. I think that there's one, the Black Knights. Which
the Black Knights.
Oh, it's the royalty that are have say coming from we'll say the Emperor of Japan and let's say the King of England, or not the king but the what do you call it, the husband of the Queen. He's not the king, but he's I forgot what his title is, but he's one of the head knights of the Black Knights, and they have and this like other royal houses in Europe along with it. So they're part of an older power structure, right? That is also in play to change things.
Well, good. I hope they show up to hand the keys off to us, because until the people have a real seat at the table, it's all bullshit as far as I'm concerned. A majority of the people on the planet are just regular people. And, I have said this for years now. I've been fighting for this, that I want a seat at the table of real people that represent real people, right? The people need to have a place at the table. And those people need to be fearless and incorruptible.
Yeah. Well, have you made a reservation yet?
I have every day, every single day. I make sure, I think about this all the time. You know, the scripture in the Bible says, you know, walk worthy for the vocation for which you have been called. I think about this every single day. I do my best to walk worthy of it. For everybody, to be honest, you know, whether they want me to or not, I'm just saying, I'm going to walk worthy. So when the opportunity comes, I'll be ready. So
Yep.
that's where I'm at with it. So that's what I got, man.
Oh, that's good. We've got, I think we covered quite a lot today. You know, hour and 12 minutes into it, so. All right, well then I guess tomorrow we'll get back to it. Thanks everyone for joining. Be sure to subscribe, thumbs up, positive comments, and we'll be back tomorrow. Actually, hang on for a moment, Tank, and I'll end this and we'll talk for a moment.
Okay.